Welcome to Opening the Door to the Unknown with your host, Dr. Schmidt. Hello, and welcome to Opening the Door to the Unknown. I'm your host, Dr. Schmidt. I have been thinking since early this morning what type of topic that I wanted to discuss today. And three subjects came to mind. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to put all three subject matter into one. If I don't finish, then I will have this as a two-parter of Opening the Door to the Unknown. I'd like to just give you a couple of quick stories that has happened in my life. Especially with my mother, and I think they're very interesting. In the last video that I uploaded, is that I told you about Daisy with the flower, during my mother's operation for a hip replacement. Well, this was on I don't want to call it the unforeseen demise of my mother, or if she actually knew what was going on because of Spirit giving her little hints. But so I thought I'd bring this up because at the end of what happened, I think two things actually happened. It was a beautiful spiritual experience, and also something that I felt was really metaphysical and esoteric. So let me get into the story here real quick so I can move on to the next little subject, and then I want to get into reincarnation. Is that my mother for a couple of nights was having strange dreams. At least she thought they were she was having strange dreams on people standing outside her window talking. In fact, she told me is that she could hear voices very, very plainly, and I asked her how long this was going on, and she said for about 2 or 3 nights. So I said, tonight, if it's going to happen, I'm going to be outside and I'm going to be ready for them, because I was thinking maybe they were how should I say, house for a home invasion, because we were having some burglaries within the neighborhood. So that night is that I was hiding, and to where somebody couldn't see me, and I waited for a few hours, and I didn't actually see or hear anything. And so when I returned into the house, is when my mother was sound asleep, and I turned off the television. And the next morning, as I'm giving her coffee, is that she told me is that she heard the two people again standing outside her, by her window talking. So I decided to go and see if there was any footprints, and there wasn't. So I said to her, I said, "Mom, I think that you're having what they call is a lucid dream." And she says, "No, it's not a dream. I know it's not a dream. I can hear them plain as day." And I said, "Yes, but Mother, sometimes when a person is having a lucid dream, they actually feel that they're wide awake, but actually they're sound asleep. I'm experiencing the dream that they are having. So I said, all right, I said, I will stand out there again tonight and to make sure that we don't have any break-ins or anything like that. So, again, for a few hours, here I am outside, and nothing. So the next morning, the same thing, and I said, Mother, forget it. I said, do you remember when I was 7 years of age? And she says, vaguely. And I says, remember, I thought I was hearing voices, and you took me to a psychiatrist, to a child psychologist. Remember? And she says, oh, she started laughing. Oh, yeah, I remember that. The guy thought that I was nuts instead of you. And I said, yeah, well, I remember that after all these years, you know. So anyways, that night I said goodnight to my mother, and I says, if you hear the guys again outside, just let them talk and forget about it. I don't think there's anything that's going to happen, you know, so I wouldn't worry about it. So the next morning I was making coffee, and she got up, and I said, so how'd you sleep last night? Oh, she said, I slept fine, but I had the most crazy experience. And I said, well, what do you mean? You didn't hear the two guys outside? No. She says, I woke up and standing at the foot of the bed, I saw a fat guy about so big, you know, that had like a big rotund belly. And she started smiling. And I said, what? And she says, yeah, a fat guy with a big rotund belly. And he was smiling. Now, so I called my wife, and I said, Laurel, come into the kitchen. Mother has had some sort of dream. And I said, Mother, you tell Laurel what you told me. So she told my wife this. And my wife was a practicing Buddhist for about 15 years. And she says, well, Phyllis, she said, is that you had an experience, what they call is the happy Buddha. And she asked, well, fat, big rotund belly and smile. Oh, yeah. And so she went to get one of her a small statue of the happy Buddha, and she put it, you know, on the table. And my mom said, that's the guy. That's the guy. And my wife started to laugh, and she said, well, you know, she said it's very unusual for a person to have that type of an experience, especially with Buddhas. And so anyways, my mother was invited out to Massachusetts to go to a wedding with I think it was my sister's girlfriend or sister and daughter-in-law, something. I forget just what the wedding was about. And it was over the weekend. I didn't have a chance to talk to my mother, so I called her on Tuesday because I knew that she would be home either on Thursday or Friday. And she said that she wasn't feeling, this was like late in the afternoon, and she says, I would love to talk to you, but I'm not feeling too good. I'm going to go to bed early. Well, the next morning, my brother-in-law found my mother had passed away during the night. So anyways, I was in a state of shock. And I said to my sister, what were you going to do? And she said is that she was going to have Mother cremated. And I had my dad, who died back in '92, I had him cremated. So I said, well, I'll bring Dad up and we'll have like a double ceremony wherever it's going to be held. And so she knew a place up in New Hampshire, big mountain. I can't remember it, but you could get to the top, could see 3 or 4 states out in front of you. And that morning was just beautiful. I'm telling you, my mother would have really loved to have seen that picturesque view of the 3 or 4 states. blue sky, not a cloud. The trees were beginning, like the trees were just beginning to turn. I mean, it was picture. I mean, it was picture perfect. So, anyways, is that the undertaker from my sister gave her a small box with my mother's ashes, and I had a canister about this size with my dad. So I cracked open the top, and we started to scatter the ashes together, and we had a nice ceremony, reminiscing, and of course crying, and feeling sorry, bad, and all that. And after the ceremony was done, I began to look out, looking at the states out in the distance, and all of a sudden I happened to see like two rainbows begin to form, a double rainbow. Now, there was not a cloud in the sky. There was no rain in any place, because like I said, it was just a beautiful, picturesque day. And like I said, you couldn't have asked for better. But here these two rainbows began to form. And I called to my sister and brother and my brother-in-law, and I said, take a look at the rainbow. I said, take a look at the rainbows out there. And I'm pointing, and they went, oh, aren't they beautiful? And my brother said, well, Mother and Dad are back together again. I wonder how long that relationship is going to last. And all of a sudden, you can just see the rainbows now begin to dissipate very slowly. When my brother made that statement. But to my way of thinking is that spirit, as I have mentioned, will cause something. It can either be something to be rejoiceful for, or to make you think, or there's always a moral to it, to what they do. And I think is that, in my way of thinking, as being the metaphysical, is that Mother and Dad did finally get back together again, and they just wanted to show us is that everything was all right. Because when you see when you happen to see two beautiful rainbows like that, it's very spiritual. I mean, you can really feel it within inside your being, especially in that sense. I wanted to talk a little bit here, very, very quickly, and I'm going to show you a little movie, and that is thought forms. Now, a thought form is creating something through thought. Okay, when we used to teach it in school, is that we used to teach the students how to create like boxes, balls, and just about anything else that you could possibly think of through the psychic will, using your psychic energies that you are drawing from your alpha, from your beta psychic, or auric beta psychic. There we go. Aura beta psychic, that you draw the energies from to create the boxes or the balls or whatever. And it's very simple. All you have to do is just hold out your hands like this, and just start to think. Not to visualize, but to start to think that you can start to feel a box being formed between your hands, that you're going to be holding, like that, okay? And before long is that you will actually begin to feel the energies begin to form, and as the energies are beginning to form, is that you can create that structure, the box itself. And once you create the box, you can put your hand like this, and you're still holding the box, and you'll begin to feel the whole shape of the object. Then, by again through psychic, using your the psychic energies that you're drawing from the psychic beta, is that you can change it from a box into a ball, and you can make the ball small, or you can make the ball to where you're holding it like this. Now, it does the objects that you create through your thought form actually exist, but it does take a lot of practice, and you can have a lot of fun. Magicians. We're not talking about the stage magicians, but the magician, like in the 16th, 17th century, used a lot of created a lot of thought forms. And this is the movie that I want to show you with Boris Karloff, and with Boris Karloff, Vincent Price, as they have a magical war just by using thought form. So just a minute here. Give me a chance. Just going to cut that. Oops, I don't want to do that. Let me see here. Yeah, come on. Yeah. There we go. Okay, videos. Here we go. I think this is it here. Yes. Okay. Like I said, this is with Vinnie Price and Boris Karloff, and they're two magicians, and having a war between each other. Okay, and they're using complete thought form. Okay, so watch, and actually, magicians can actually do this, but it does take practice. Especially what they're going to do takes a hell of a lot of practice. Now you just seen Boris Karloff create a snake. That's a thought form. So just enjoy what they create. They're not visualizing. They're just thinking. They're just creating with their mind. Again, like I said, it just takes years and years of practice. But magicians can actually do it. That's what they call as an energy ball. There's a young Jack Nicholson. Now, of course, this is a little far-fetched by what Price is doing. It just makes the movie a little bit more fanciful. The raven, by the way, that's on Nicholson's shoulder is Peter Lorre. But you can tell just by thinking, by using that psychic energy that I talked about in the energy systems of the body, and that again is the beta psychic that is drawn from to bring it in as to create what you are actually seeing here. Of course, like I said, a lot of it is little far-fetched, but just for the storyline. But again, that you will see the energy that will be created. And you will see that again in just a moment. Again, you just saw like energy balls that are being thrown at Vincent. See a hell of a lot of energy being expelled through both of them. And this is all psychic energy, by the way. It's not auric energy, but it's complete psychic energy. And everybody has the ability to do what Karloff and Price are doing, but again, it takes a lot of dedication and devotion and definitely practice. Okay, so. Like I said, it does take a lot of practice oops, see here, one more. There we go. Oops, Wicked Witch of the West. Oops, this man got to fix me up here. Oops. There we go. Okay. So yes, it does take a lot of practice, dedication, devotion, to do what Vincent and Boris did as the two magicians going battling one another. Okay, I thought I'd just kind of mention the two things that I thought were kind of interesting, that I hope that were interesting for you. Now let me get into the main subject here, and that is on reincarnation for the next 40 minutes. I hope to get done. If I don't, I will make this as a two-parter. Depends on what my producer says. So everybody always likes to know what they did in their past lives. And the reason why people want to know what they did is they always say the karma. All right. If I was bad if I was bad and I didn't rectify getting rid of all that negativity, then it would have to come back and maybe study of how to get rid of that karma as to become purified. Okay, so naturally we have a choice. The choice is either returning to this third dimensional plane of existence as many times as we have to rectify what we did during some of our during some of our past lives. Now we can have dreams. Now we can have dreams on the subject. Might be you could be dreaming about living in the Wild West, or you could be dreaming about living in the Wild West, or maybe even a little bit farther into the future. Could be like the 20s, the 30s, even the 40s. Depends on what time, what year that you were born. So I do think there is a stop gate before the time that you were born, that you're not going to I don't want to say remember, but where you don't have anything. Okay, at least that's my personal opinion on that with the stop gate. So you can have going way back, even to like ancient Egypt, Babylon, Africa, wherever. You could have been a Roman centurion or just a regular soldier. You could have been in the Civil War. You have no idea what some of your past lives were, and sometimes you might want to go. You say to yourself, "Well, gee, I'd like to know. Gee, I've been having a strange dream, and I've been having it for a couple of nights, and I just can't figure out what it is, but I think it's a past life." And so you might want to go to a certified hypnotherapist that has studied on how to send somebody back into that particular past life, that you can for a moment can relive what you were doing. But I found out, instead of going to a hypnotherapist, is that you can do it yourself. Okay, and I don't believe I do have friends that are hypnotherapists, and we always talk about reincarnation in that sense. And I say, well, how many people have you regressed? And they have told me, well, a few, many, for the clients that I have had. But I really don't, and so I think to myself, and I would not get into an argument with them, because number one, they're colleagues, associates, and very good friends. But I think to myself, Well, you know, is that the skeptic would say is that you are that you are telling them, you know, what to expect because they're under hypnosis. You know, what they're going to be reliving. It's like that hypnotic suggestion. You know, it's like for an example, which I used to do, and I loved it. I just loved it. When I was going to the university in Milwaukee, is that I would go down Wisconsin Avenue, and I would stop at a corner, and I would just happen to look up, and I'd just look up, and just look up, and all of a sudden I'd just begin to point, just like, you know, just like this, and I wouldn't move. I was just, you know, I mean, what I mean is I wouldn't move my whole body. I would kind of move my head back and forth like that to position like I'm following whatever this thing is that was supposedly up there in the sky. And before long, I had other people come, and all of a sudden now they're looking up and they're beginning to point. And it was funny just to watch all these people just stop and look up and just start pointing. Well, again, psychologists, psychiatrists would say that's classified as a mass hallucination because you are manipulating them just by the action that you are doing. And that's what I feel is what a person does. Some, I'm not saying all, but some that will manipulate the session by giving you creating, you might say, by creating the situation of that particular past life. So I like to tell so what I used to do is tell my students is that you can have create your own past life experience, and nobody is manipulating you. Nobody's giving you any type of hypnotic suggestion to cause you to have that type of remembrance, because you are in complete control. And that is, again, through meditation. And how you do it is very simple. You can be sitting, just like I mentioned, how to clean out your chakras, how to clean out the cords, how to clean, you know, how to get rid of all that negativity, getting into a slight meditative trance where you're not actually going under, but just enough to where you are still in control of your mental faculty. Okay, like I said, you can do the same thing, but the only difference is that instead of cleaning yourself out, is that you're going to do your, you know, like your breath exercise, which is at 5 by 5, drawing in through the nostrils, holding for 5 seconds, and then slowly exhaling through the mouth, and begin to feel yourself becoming relaxed. And then you are experiencing, and you're telling yourself, this is not, again, visualization. I do not believe, and I do not like visualization, okay? But this is more thought, okay? Through the thought process is that you're telling yourself, is that you're walking down a corridor until you get to an elevator, and you press the button to open the elevator doors. You get in, you press the elevator door, and you start to go down until the elevator begins to slow down and actually stop, and then you walk, and then the doors open, and you walk out, and you begin to experience what you need to experience. The experience that you're having might last 5 minutes, might last 10 minutes, it might last 30 seconds. Some of the past life experiences I've had lasted for only a few, like for a few moments. And others that I have had lasted 5, 10, 15 minutes. And I will tell you some of the past life experiences that I actually had. So then once you have your experience, is that again, you get back into that elevator, you press the button moving up until it slowly stops, and then the doors open, and then you just walk out, and then you just slowly begin to bring yourself out of that trance-like state that you have put yourself into. Now remember, nobody is giving you any type of hypnotic suggestion. You are giving your own suggestion, and what you're actually experiencing is a true past life experience. And you're going to, and what's surprising is that you remember what actually has happened. And like I said, you can have this a few times if you want, or you just might want to experience it one time. Now that's just one way. That's just one way to have an experience. Another way is there's another way that witches do when they have a circle. Is that you can have a white candle. Again, you can be sitting, and you can have a table in front of you, and you put the white candle on the table. You have a handheld mirror, and you look into the mirror, and you just watch the features of your face change. And before long, the features might turn into a woman, or into a man. And it will give you just about the time period, because it would depend. Usually, the people who have experienced this type of reincarnation is that it was the hats and the hairstyle, and it was like the hats being worn for the men, and the hairstyle and what the women would be wearing, like for hats as well. Okay. If you were a Roman centurion, that's what you'd be wearing, is like a metal helmet. If you were like an Egyptian, as a high priest or whatever, you'd be wearing the type of hat that the high priest would be wearing. If you were like in World War I, again for the helmet. If you were like in the Wild West, like in the cavalry or whatever, or just a cowboy, it would depend on the type of hat, with the mustache or the beard or whatever like that. Okay, so it's kind of interesting just to see that type of reincarnation, especially with the changes of faces, of how many times that you have been a female, or if you're a female, how many times that you've been a male. And it can happen just like this again, boom, boom, boom. What I call is rapid fire. So it's fun. Okay, it is fun to experience. And if you want to go to, a hypnotherapist who just does with the regression for reincarnation, then I would suggest to take a blank, to have the session recorded some way. Okay. Now, for my personal, I always like to get into personal experiences because I think they're fun. Like I said, the person who's ever talking about this stuff, if they never had the personal experiences, then I would have to question their authenticity of if they ever been into the metaphysical or esoterics. So that's the reason why I like to give personal accounts, which is, again, which is one way that you know is that the person that you're watching does know what they're talking about. So I'm going to try to give as many as I can within the next 20 minutes here, or maybe 25 minutes. My producer said 25 minutes. Okay. The first time that I ever had had a reading done by a medium was in 1982. In 1982, and there was a psychic fair going on, and so I decided to go and to have a psychic reading. But I decided instead of just having a psychic reading, I wanted to have a past life reading instead. So I talked to the person, and they agreed to give me the past life reading, and the person got into a little trance, and all of a sudden I just started talking, and of course I was going to take down notes, and so I was ready. I mean, I had my pencil and I had the paper on the table, pencil ready in the hand, and I'm ready to go. Anyways, this psychic medium told me is that she told me is that I was an old soul. And I said, well, how old? And she said, very old soul. Now, when a person talks about now, if you have a psychic or medium talk about an old soul, it could mean is that you have a very long past life existence. Okay? But when this psychic medium told me that I was an old soul, according to her, she wasn't kidding. I said, how old? And she said, well, if I told you, you're not going to believe it. And I still was ready. I'm writing all this stuff down. And she told me is that I came from the planet Vulcan. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, getting into Star Trek. And she said is that you were a Vulcan, and that you came down with other of your kind, and lived on. Some went to Lemuria, and some went to Atlantis, and I was on the Atlantean side, not with Lemuria. And I said, well, what did I do? And she said is that I was like a crystal healer and a scientist. And I said, really? Now remember, I'm writing all this down, okay? And she said, yeah. She says, that's what that's what you were. So you're a very old soul. And there's not too many people. She says, and I've been doing readings for years and years and years. And this is the first time when I say that somebody's an old soul. You better take my word is that they're an old soul, not from this planet. Well, about 2 months later, I was cleaning out my desk, and I forgot all about the reading I had for a past life, and I happened to find the notes that I was taking down for the past life reading. So I'm going back, and I decided Vulcan. I said, oh geez, maybe I got just for the entertainment purposes. But I decided to go to the library. And now, just like I told you about Chief Eagle Feather, is that I did the research, and I found that there was actually a Chief Eagle Feather, one of these Indian tribes that I mentioned. Anyways, I went to the library, and I was looking up, astronomy, and the first book, just like looking for Chief Eagle Feather, nothing in the first book. Boom, second book, going, nothing in the second book. Third book, nothing in the third book. The fourth book is that I was looking through the index and I happened to see Vulcan. So I immediately became really excited. I mean, oh my God, I think I found something here. So I looked under, I went to the page that you were talking about Vulcan, and actually the planet Vulcan was actually discovered by a scientist. I can't remember his name, but it was in 1870, no, was it 1875? It was either the late 1870s or early 1880s that Vulcan was actually discovered by this scientist. And so what this psychic what the psychic medium told me was it wasn't a malarkey. And so I say to myself, and I don't go and tell people that, hey, I'm an alien. I had a past life on Vulcan, and then I came down here with people before the planet exploded, just like Krypton with Superman, and I went to Atlantis, and some of my people went to Lemuria. All right. But according to the psychic medium, it actually happened. Now, I did have a couple of psychic readings again a few years ago. I think in 2012, and the psychic medium. The psychic medium went into a trance, and she she really went into a trance. I'm going to have to turn the light on here, if I may. Okay. And this is a copy of what she sent me, and this was a copy of what she sent me, and I'm going to read to you here about some of my past lives. Okay. It's kind of, they're short, so I'm not going to take too long a time here. But anyways, it says here that the names are Grace and Gloria, who was this psychic medium's two guides. Excuse me. But anyways, is that these two psychic guides of hers were giving me. They took over for the reading. So it goes something like this. The names are Grace and Gloria. It says, "We say to you, darling boy, son of ours, son of ancients, of lineage divided and not. We say your role, your mission, so to speak, in this incarnation is one of peacemaker, peacekeeper. And we say that the last life of yours, wizardry, etc., was one that was cast, as you call it, too dark. And we say that this life now is one of steps of progression towards your higher light. We also say to you, be most careful, Dr. Ours. We say that we say to you that much darkness lingers around you in spirit form, and we say this darkness grows stronger as you have yet to put into place proper protection. We beg you, please, to change up current mode of protection. For your spirits is a warrior most strong, and as such proves to be attraction to other weaker energies that cluster. We say in words of world yours now, earth time now. Now, I'm going to repeat that because something happened during one of my sessions when I was talking to Spirit with the Spirit box. We say in words of world yours now, earth time now. Now, I got written down here, which I think, now remember, this was back in 2012 with that statement. And here it is, right here, is that the words that popped up on the little box. It says, before time. Okay, before time. We say in words of yours now, earth time now, before time. So whatever happened back, happened now. Get off your ass and move in direction of white light streaming protection. All right. Then they get into. Then she gets into a little sexual connotation here. Okay, a little in that sense. Okay, again here. Tribal form interrupted. We see your ministry in question. You did try new ways to save this tribe. Sacred and more were these people of your powers of the healing. Turn away, they did upon you. Atlantean time and odor. Now remember, I told you about the psychic medium that I went to go and see back in 82. And this was in 2012 that this reading was given to me. So it seems, so again, the people of your powers of the healing, all right, turn away, they did upon you, Atlantean time and odor. Wise sage, mountaintop, wizard stick, magical wand, spread in arms, circle star in gold in top of stick. We say your death then was due to fright and no more. I still haven't really figured that out for the last 4 years. And we see this period now of yours still to come, to go to, as we see the group of spirit, of people who have spirits around them, and we say you have yet to meet them, but soon. Do not delay this connection. Energy Gala 2012 to 13 rules on this connection. Cast your spells, do your work, stop hiding, stop this lassitude. We need you to get back to work now. Okay, so that was just a few of some of the past lives. So it seems to me that I was a magician a few times in my past lives. Now this was the most interesting. This was the most interesting thing that ever happened to me. We always talk about the Ashkek records. This happened to me back in 1974, and I'll never forget it. It happened one time, and it never happened again. All right. This was on a Sunday early Sunday afternoon, and I was trying to take a nap because I didn't sleep well the night before, and so I'm laying in bed, looking up at the ceiling. Now I know I was completely awake when this actually happened. Anyways, I'm looking up at the ceiling, and all of a sudden I could see a fog begin to appear and begin to swirl. Now remember I told you about Bloody Mary, how I experienced that within the mirror with calling her name out, and the mirror, and all of a sudden it had like the fog begin to form, and all of a sudden I happen to see a figure start to slowly move out. Well, watching upon the ceiling is that here I am, and I'm just watching and watching, and I knew I was awake because I could hear everything going on around me. So it wasn't a lucid dream. All of a sudden, the fog, if you want to call it, or the smoke, if you want to call it, began to slowly dissipate, and this is the weird part, is that the ceiling began to slowly open on me, and I'm looking through the ceiling, and it seemed that I was in a great hall, and I could see like the columns like this, and I could see like a long corridor that led to a big door, and as the doors began to open, I could see inside like those women dancing and like some type of music playing, and then all of a sudden it kind of shifted on me to where there was another door in back of me that opened up, and I could see like an entourage of people walking down this corridor, going into this other room. And it looked to me like one person out of all the others had all this royal garb that he was wearing. And he sat down like in a throne type of chair, you might say. And you had like the two people with the big fans, and they're going like this. So now I figured that this had to be in Egypt. Ancient Egypt. And it looked to me like there was a couple of women that backed, like bowed and began to slowly back off, or start to slowly back off, you might say, and go with the other woman and began to dance. And you had two men that were still standing in front of the pharaoh, if I wanted to call him that. And all of a sudden it was like a close-up, and I'm still watching, and I'm still wide awake, and I'm still watching this, and I'm going, what the hell? And all of a sudden there was like a camera shot, like the camera was moving right in, and here I saw, like, it was like the high priest, because I could tell by the garb that he was wearing, and I happened to see my own face. I happened to see my own face. And then slowly the camera started to move back like this for like a long shot, and all of a sudden like the doors began to slowly close, and still moving, and the camera was still moving back, and I'm watching this, and I'm kind of following what's going on now with this camera, and all of a sudden the ceiling started to slowly close like this. And all of a sudden, I could start to see like the fog or the smoke, and all of a sudden it began to swirl, and all of a sudden, boom, began to dissipate. And I'm still looking up, and I'm going, holy shit! What the hell did I just experience? So I didn't know actually what I experienced, so I had to talk. I was really going. I was kind of scared, and I was kind of fascinated at the same time. And so I talked to a friend of mine, and I told him. This was a few years later. Many years later, like about 2000 and what was it, 2000 and when I still had the school, 2007, from 74 to 2007. That would have been a long time since I ever brought that I brought this incident up, and I talked to this friend of mine who was a parapsychologist and a clinical psychologist that lived in St. Louis. And, I mean, not St. Louis, lived in, well, Missouri, but not in St. Louis. But anyways, is that he told me is that for some reason, somehow, is that I experienced having one of my past lives being played out for me by that past life that was in the Ashkeck records. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, you know, being an esoteric scientist and a metaphysician, I mean, I should have known better. But this was, but again, this was all new to me. It was all new to me in that sense. But it did happen. So I thought, like I said, it only happened one time, but it actually happened. Like I said, I was fascinated, and I was scared at the same time, and that's the reason why I never brought up that subject, because people really would have thought that I was really. And if, but I thought I'd bring it up because this is the subject in this discussion tonight is on reincarnation. So, anyways, I've had a few. I mean, like I had a few more experiences with reincarnation. In fact, I found that I was a Roman centurion, and also I was the first woman that worked on the Chicago Tribune back in the 1890s. I thought that was interesting. So do males? Were females at one time in a past life? Yes. Were females males in a past life? Well, you got to keep the balance, so I would have to say yes. Females were also males back then. But like I said, I think that reincarnation is a very fascinating. I think that reincarnation is a very fascinating subject because you find out who you were, is that you can always work that karma, get rid of that karma, and that's the whole idea. Is that we want to, if we can, during this lifetime here in this physical plane of existence, is to get as pure and as spiritual as one can become. I keep saying I'm not coming back. I'm not going to be coming back as an Egyptian or high priest. I'm not going to be coming back as a leader, as to heal people. I'm not coming back, period. I'm going to stay over on the other side until I decide again, yeah, you want to come back over and experience a different type of lifetime. Maybe the actual Star Trek lifetime. You know, to be on a beam ship, or to be on a, like the U.S. is, you know, on a starship. To maybe explore strange new worlds. I know that I was on Vulcan. So I mean, that was a confirmation. That was a confirmation from not existing on this planet the first time that my spirit occupied the first body to have an experience here in this third dimensional plane, but out there in the cosmos, on a different planet, but that's all right. You never know. You might have experienced that yourself, you know. And the only way, and I'm not suggesting to run out and you know, seeing a hypnotherapist, but you know, to try maybe just one type of experience in one type of experience in reincarnation. Because you never know who again, you never know who you might have been. Could have been somebody famous. I'm not saying like Napoleon or Hitler or Abraham Lincoln, you know, but it could have been like a philosopher. It could have been a writer. Maybe some type of you know. Maybe some type of teacher going back. Who knows? Or again, maybe coming from another planet, or maybe just being somebody that was a Lemurian or an Atlantean. Okay, like I said, so it's it is the reincarnation is an exciting field in the in the metaphysical and in the esoterics and in the hermetics. Because like I said, we all want to know who we were back then. What did we do back then? Why do we have this particular karma that's still lingering on us? That negativity, you know, and you're trying to shake it off like a dog shaking off water after walking out in the rain, you know, or after a bath. You know, get that excess crap off. You know, become clean, purified, so that when you do pass over, that you do not have to come back, and that you can begin to steadily move up the rungs of the ladder. Okay? Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you enjoyed this chapter on reincarnation and the other little tidbits that I gave. And I see my producer is definitely now giving me giving me the high sign. Is giving me the high sign here. So all I can say is I'll talk to you next time. There we go. I'll talk to you the next time. Goodbye. This has been a production of Opening the Door to the Unknown in association with Dr. Clark Schmidt, copyright 2016.